Hello, my name is Dennis Jobson. I'm the local Trumpeter 26 political engagement officer, and I'm here and excited to be able to highlight our candidate, Donna Koch, who is running for school board trustee. This interview will allow us to get to know Donna and our other candidates a little bit better and see their perspectives on some of the district and provincial educational issues. It also allows Donna and our candidates a chance to explain their positions on these issues and hopefully educate us on what they want to accomplish as school board trustees. So welcome, Donna.
Thank you very much.
So the first question that the local would like to ask you, Donna, is what should the three priorities be for the school board in the term that's upcoming? And could you briefly explain each of those?
I sure can. So I really believe that before you can move forward, that we need to be on stable ground. And I think that means ensuring that we get through this COVID crisis safely. So we need to ensure that we've got the measures instituted by the government of Alberta and the provincial health officer. We need to make sure that they're adhered to until we sort of come out the other side. Then, from my perspective, we would need to focus on three things. And so the first one would be ensuring that we have access and we assess and address the COVID gap that is formed. I really do believe there's a gap that's formed. And we can do that by supporting targeted interventions for the affected students. And I'm kind of alluding to literacy. The second thing I would tell you is that I've learned in my 35 years of nursing and management that there's nothing more important than the well-being and knowledge of your staff. So we need to support teachers to get past, again, the COVID weary times, that's what I would call it. And we need to be able to focus on collaborative professional learning so that teachers can return to using the most effective tools that they have for teaching. And then the third thing would be that we need to ensure to advocate to the government for an effective curriculum moving forward. And I know I'll talk about the curriculum later, but as far as curriculum goes, we need the funds and the resources to implement it, not just the review. And I think delaying it a year would be a really good step. And I just really believe that we need to get through COVID first, and then we can advance the curriculum.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Our second question is actually about educational funding and the role of school boards in funding decisions for our district. And yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I have a healthcare background, but I believe there isn't a more important ministry in the government than education. I believe that if you get education right, then everything else will fall into place. So we need to ensure that this is advocated for repeatedly and consistently. And I think that when it comes to this advocacy, it can be done sort of on a general level, but it can also be done effectively through targeting supports, such as mental health supports and career and technology supports. And I know that the government has often supported them, continues to support them, and it's needed. So I would sort of say that if we focus on mutually agreed upon success areas, from my experience, it's the best way to be successful in your future advocacy efforts.
Okay. And so when we're looking at our school classrooms and the learning environments, in what ways do you think that the board and yourself could help improve classroom learning?
The quality of students' learning can't exceed the quality of teachers' learning, if that makes sense. So teacher quality needs to be at the forefront. So I believe that this is first achieved by recognizing the effort, and I'll use the word again, weariness, brought on by COVID, and addressing that. And then secondly, by helping teachers improve their learning styles in what I would call an effective professional learning environment. And I think teachers sharing ideas, taking ownership and pride in their success has really shown to produce some of the best student learning success. So I believe it starts and ends with culture, and a culture that you nourish in the schools, but it has to be for both students and teachers.
Okay. And so with the newly released draft curriculum, what is your position on that?
Well, it is key to my platform, and I really believe the curriculum is too much, too soon, and too broad. It is a big document, and at first I was just finding myself reading summaries. But my friends and family, who many are sort of educators and teachers and support staff, have been talking so much about it. I thought, I better kind of take a deep dive into this and have a read. So to me, I can appreciate the frustration that I've been hearing. I think we're pushing kids to know things that they're not ready for. The content doesn't seem to be right. It seems that we're pushing it through, all curriculum areas sort of too much. And again, we, compounding that sort of with COVID. So my thought would be take a breath, review it thoroughly, do it cooperatively with teachers and curriculum experts, find a product and a timeline and an implementation procedure that would work for everyone. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be better. It needs to be supported. And I think everyone recognizes there needs to be an improved curriculum, because I read, some of the fine arts sections. I mean, they haven't been changed for 35 years. So that suggests to me there needs to be a long overdue. It's long overdue, I guess. And I think this is, it's ultimately good for students, and that's what we're here for.
All right. So, and I think, we've been kind of led down to the path of what you might go for on this next question, but how can you as a trustee maybe help support teachers in what they're doing? So you mentioned a couple things, but what might you actually do?
Yeah. So basically, I bring it, sort of narrow it down to, and maybe it's not narrow, but let's start by paying attention to culture and understanding the needs and the weak points in the system. Teachers, I believe, have been consistently asked to do more throughout COVID. And so an example would be, we've asked teachers to change their teaching methodology right in the middle of a crisis. I think that was a monstrous task when, people had families of their own. And so I think that needs to be appreciated. And so the other thing is, I think that teachers need to be helped back to be able to enhance sort of the purposeful work that they were doing sort of each and every day. I mean, we're operating in very artificial environments right now. And so I think teachers need some good professional learning opportunities, and better opportunities for listening are a good start, in my opinion.
And so in your view, what is the biggest challenges facing education right now? And how might you, overcome some of those challenges or that challenge?
Well, I think student learning is being done in an era where the future is uncertain, and the student well-being is being continually challenged. We need to provide a dynamic and a broad education curriculum again, but that provides multiple opportunities, but also multiple career paths. So this would include education filled with like music, vocational studies, extracurricular opportunities, and including the academia. So what we need to do is we need to ensure that students are engaged, they feel welcome. We need to ensure that education is advocated for at the provincial level, to make sure that our staff and support staff are properly and programs are properly funded, our buildings, but that also means education needs to be a fiscal priority. So if you get education right, it's a bit of a theme with me, everything else takes care of itself.
And if you do get elected into the school board as a trustee, what personal skills do you believe you possess that would assist you in that role?
Okay. Well, I would call it sort of energy, enthusiasm, expertise, and experience. I've had the pleasure of a career with Alberta Health Services for over 30 years, from 1986. I hate dating myself. I sort of thought, well, should I say this or not? But anyway, so I did have that, my career, and my last sort of role was an executive director, and I was responsible for over 1,200 people and a large budget. My responsibility was around public health, French health, Indigenous health, inclusion, mental health, addiction. And so I learned there, the importance of culture. I learned about the importance of continuous improvement, and really the success of sort of good human resource policy and practice. And so in that time, I worked in areas that were relevant to student well-being. I was involved in getting the student nurse reintegration program. Not sure if you're familiar with that, but I was involved in that, as well as the wellness wing at the comp. Way back when, I actually was a school nurse at Parkside School. And so I certainly understand sort of the nuances of being in a school. And I think we were a little bit more sort of involved and sort of a key member of the school. A school then, but I certainly have very sort of positive experiences and memories from there. My present role, I'm a healthcare consultant, and I travel throughout Canada and the Middle East, and I assess organizations, looking at sort of what a healthy organization is and help them with their outcomes and improvement. So I guess the other thing I would be remiss if I didn't say, I've helped organize the inaugural Education Strut and Strive event for the Education Foundation. And we raised $38,000 and profile for the foundation, but that $38,000, we actually saw that go directly back to public schools, benefiting programs that teachers and parent council sort of really wanted. And so it was really a proud thing. I'm a big fan of the Reading University. I lend my support where I can. I think early literacy is so important. I have a bit of a mantra: you get out of your community what you put into it. And so some of my other experiences, I think that would sort of benefit the role as a trustee. I was director of volunteers for the Canada Games, 10 years with Heart and Stroke Redress Event. I was a PACE crisis line worker, hospice palliative care. I'm currently with the Victoria's Attic Support the Girls Breast Cancer Initiative. I sit on the Community Foundation of Northwest Alberta, German Canadian Club. You need a little physical activity in there too. So I'm a member of the Grande Prairie Golf and Country Club Ladies Executive as tournament chair. QE2 Hospital Foundation Festival of Trees, 11 years there. I have, I've had family still in the school system, but kids through the system, many teacher friends. I do sort of really, feel that I'm fairly well appointed for the role.
Excellent. So if you are elected as well, what are your goals for working with government, with teachers and with students?
Mm-hmm. Well, as a trustee, I believe your main goal is to be a good listener. I think that getting that right is the most important first step. It's not just lip service. I know there's parent councils, attending events sort of, where possible, just to get sort of the opinions. I mean, it's amazing how people are even reaching out to me now. The next thing I would do is I would advocate for increased funding for our schools. We get the funding, but we also need to ensure that we do our part and be good stewards of the money that we presently get. But, there's always, I think, increased needs. And then the other thing is this: I think being a good trustee requires an open mind about ideas, especially ideas that would improve the success of students and teachers. And again, listening to parents and the community at large is important too, but really, success for students and teachers.
And finally, our last question for you, Donna, is if elected, what do you think would be the most rewarding aspect of being a school board trustee?
Yeah, well, I think education is about hope, and it's the promise of the future. And so it's about creating great citizens. So I kind of have that on my little slogan, is together creating great citizens, because we can't sort of do it alone. And so I just sort of feel, at this stage in my life, what could be sort of more rewarding than being a part of that? And I think it must be why teachers become teachers and trustees maybe become trustees. So, I think the opportunity to participate in shaping positive outcomes, overcoming some of the challenges and struggles, strategizing towards a bright future, and basically working towards all the things that I've talked about sort of previously, I would be looking forward to. I really like the idea of being visible, at school events. I'm not a micromanager. I know there's a superintendent, but I do really think that those are all roles, supportive roles for a trustee.
Excellent. And so, Donna, the local would like to thank you for making time for the interview so that we could share your perspectives with our members and their connected spouses and whatnot. And we do wish you luck in your campaign. And, if you do get elected, I'm sure we'll see more of you.
Yes, I'm sure you will. But anyway, thank you very much.